It got quiet awfully quickly. Thought, oh, I better go out there. Okay, hello everybody. Excellent. My name's Mac Perkle, and I will be your MC for the afternoon. In addition to that, I have the honor of being the chair of the multimedia ministry team, and we are responsible for this right here, unfortunately. So, you know the old adage, you have to ask forgiveness rather than permission. So if anybody from the worship committee is out there, I ask your forgiveness on behalf of the multimedia team. Now, just another little side note, if any of you all saw the videos we did for the Capitol campaign, there was one of them called This Old Church. Did any of you all see that video? Okay, so in that one, I stood over there and joked as we were talking about the improvements we were going to make to the sanctuary and said, won't it be great when we have the 50-foot screen that will lower with Michael on it? And people were calling, he wasn't serious, was he? But Michael, if you don't mind, take a moment, give us all a nice silent blessing so that we've not like desanctified the church or anything since we brought it in here. All righty. Today's a fabulous occasion for us, bittersweet, I'm sure, for all of us, full of joy and gratitude and love that Michael talked about today in the sermon. And we're here today not only to celebrate Michael's service to West End, but to a lot of the congregations he's been with, which includes Hendersonville, Blakemore, Belmead, Dalewood, I think, is that right? Columbia. Have I left anything out? And one in Chicago when he served in school. And then as he told us today, this is the end of a long legacy, 181 years that preachers in his family have been preaching in the Tennessee Conference. A remarkable thing, and Michael, on behalf of all of us, thank you for your service. Our program today is going to include some video. We have some clips of Michael's sermons, some historical clips from Michael a couple of years ago. We also have testimonies from congregation members. It would be impossible, not only in video, pick your medium, for us to express what we all individually feel. So we had some very brave volunteers who stood in front of a camera and shared their thoughts and feelings, and I think you'll agree with me that they are symbolic of what we all feel, Michael, when you listen to those. The other thing is that this screen is rather large, so we had originally thought we'd rehearse, take it down, rehearse again. We didn't do any of that, so we've not actually rehearsed much of this. So in advance, we'll just find out how all this works. So we're going to go to the first video clip, and Michael, this is on what I would say the eve of your joining West End. This is from an interview we did right before Michael joined. So let's turn out all the lights.
I had never imagined being the senior minister at West End. My excitement grows with every meeting. I mean, I know there'll be struggles, just struggles to remember names to start with, but I'm really excited about coming here. I look forward to our working together. I really do think that West End has a unique place within this conference and within this city, and I'm excited about being a part of helping it claim that place, because there's a great tradition here, a long and honored tradition, and it's not that we could go back to that or any other stage, but building on that, we can build new traditions and extend those traditions into the future.
The next clip that we're going to see is another short clip. Now this one, though, is from last August, Michael. For those of you who were here, I believe it was the middle of August when Michael announced his retirement.
Where I grew up, when people would come to visit and they would start to go home, they would be sitting around the trailer and they'd get ready to go home, and one of the guests would say something like, well, I reckon we better mosey on. And of course the host would say, oh, why don't you stay a while? Didn't matter how long you'd been there already. So we would continue to talk for about 25, 30 minutes, and then the guest would get up and maybe gather up things and move toward the door, and they'd say, well, I reckon we better be getting up home. No, why don't you stay a little while? So we'd stand at the door and talk for another 20 or 30 minutes. Then they'd say, well, I reckon we better be getting up the hill where the poor folks live. And then we'd stand by the car and talk for another extended period of time. So you see, the transition of guests going home where I grew up was a soft launch. It was a transition that took a while and happened in stages. I don't know if that made it any easier, but that's just how I grew up. And so I guess I'm just saying today, well, I reckon I better mosey on. Okay? And we'll talk for a while more, and we will finally get there.
So, Michael, today we're just going to kind of mosey on a little bit. I'd say right now we're probably at the door the first time. So we're about ready to get up home right now, and we're going to be here for just a little while. We also, of course, have music for you today. I think I forgot to mention that. And the first song that we're going to do is a reminder for you, but really for all of us, of the many gifts and talents that you have, not only your preaching, but your writing, obviously your storytelling. And really, I think what a lot of us appreciate is the vision that you brought in here, one that goes quite a far ways back for West End, that had this church being a part of the theater community as well. So the Fourth Floor Theater, and that vision shared with Kirk McNeil and with Marty Gilbert and the countless others that have put their blood, sweat, and tears into that theater upstairs has been quite remarkable. So the first song is from one of those productions, a production that you wrote, the Gleaner's Song, and written by Michael and Harry Robinson, and to perform it, called Ain't Nobody Gonna Stop Me, Shannon Lee Turberville and Harry Robinson.
Before we jump right in, I was asked to give a little intro to this song. And as many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with the story of Ruth and Naomi, this song is really about, right after Ruth and Naomi have both become widows, and Naomi's like, I've had it, I'm just moving home. And Ruth is expected to stay. Naomi doesn't want her. And Ruth says, no way, you're not gonna leave me, you're not gonna stop me from coming with you. And I think that's how a lot of us feel about Michael. You may be leaving here, but you're not getting away from us anytime soon. I'm gonna live where you live and travel wherever you go. There won't be a place you don't see my face. I'll follow you everywhere. Gonna sleep where you sleep. Your worries will be my cares. There won't be a place you don't see my face. I'll follow you everywhere. And ain't nobody gonna stop me. Don't you even try. Wherever you stay, when you go away, I'll be there by and by. I'll be there by and by. Your kin will be mine, your God will hear my prayers. The best daughter-in-law that you ever saw, you know that I will be there. And when your days are all done, you're breathing your last breath, I'll be by your side, and there I'll abide in the shadowy veil of death. And ain't nobody gonna stop me. Don't you even try. Wherever you stay, when you go away, I'll be there by and by. I'll grave and no longer see your face. A place will be saved right next to your grave as my final resting place. And ain't nobody gonna stop me. Don't you even try. Wherever you stay, when you go away, I'll be there by and by. I'll be there by and by.
Harry co-wrote that show, by the way. I think I forgot to mention that on the front end. Great job. So the next video clip is of our brave volunteers. And as I said, it's their moment in front of a camera just to speak to and about you, Michael.
Michael, good morning. This is Janie Parmley. I remember the first Sunday that I saw you in the pulpit. This bearded man in a long robe. I looked to see if you had sandals on, and I thought to myself, this will never work. This is not Roy Clark. How wrong I was.
Jennifer Rawlings, Margaret, Michael, Sarah, and Lizzie. You are precious and wonderful friends. Margaret, remember the day you were born, and I remember that our parents were best friends and had been forever. Then growing up there in Columbia at First Methodist Church, Columbia, here came Michael Williams, and you and Bob Lewis were such a wonderful team, and we loved every minute of having you there. You have a wonderful, wonderful, happy, adventurous life from here on out. To watch him with the children, to watch him take a Bible verse and make us feel like we're there is unbelievable.
Thank you, Mr. Michael, for being such a good preacher. I can also rely on you to be ready for hose at any moment.
Thank you, Michael, for always calling us by name and always being so welcoming.
You have this uncanny ability to, more often than not during your sermons, say exactly what I needed to hear that day. And thank you for everything we're doing. We're all going to miss you.
My name is Turner Johnson. I'm a senior in youth group, and I've spent my whole life at this church. Michael's preaching style really kind of stood out to me because he was so, engaged with the whole congregation. I think it was easier for me to understand. He did a great job of, telling the story from the scripture, but also weaving it into everyday life so that people could understand it more.
My name is Bob Lewis. When he moved back to Tennessee and was working on his dissertation, I then was a senior pastor, First United Methodist Church in Columbia. But we decided we wanted an associate pastor. And my staff parish was convinced after I had Michael down to tell stories and to preach that that's who they wanted to. We had a great time together for 4 years. It was there he met Margaret, and it was at that great church that I was one of the celebrants for that joyful occasions when they celebrated their covenant of marriage together. I had been transferred to be senior pastor at Belmead United Methodist Church. And again, we needed an associate pastor, so he came on staff at Belmead. Michael left Belmead and went to Delwood, then Blakemore, then Hendersonville first, and then to this great congregation here at West End. And Michael, I want to thank you for everything you've done for the whole church, for theater, for drama, for the arts, for me personally. Blessings on you, my friend, and Margaret, and Sarah, and Elizabeth. I thank God that I am a part of your life, and so does my family.
Michael, there are many things I would like to thank you for. The first is your gift of preaching and storytelling. The second is your gift of forgiveness, and accepting everyone wherever they are on their journey of faith and life. And the third is the most important, and that is the gift of your wonderful family.
I'm James Sewell. I've always enjoyed the stories that Jesus told. And then Michael Williams came along and told those same stories, and they took on new life through his own faith stance and through his theology and through his biblical research. They brought new insights and new meanings.
My name is Charlotte Sewell. Michael, thanks very much. And we hope that that brief time that you plan to be away will be a very short brief. We need you in the theater and look for you to come back.
Kathy Sullivan. I remember the first time that we met, you came into my den and you helped me through the most sorrowful period of my life to plan the memorial service for my husband, Bob. You captured Bob so well as you gave the eulogy. I appreciate that you could do that when you didn't know me that well. Thank you for all that you have meant to my family and me in your years of service to West End Methodist Church.
Hey everybody, my name is Silas House. As soon as you meet Michael, you like him. He makes people feel seen. He makes people feel heard. And he makes people feel loved. And there's no better service that we can do to others. And now go write a bunch of poems.
I'm Sarah Williams, daughter of Michael Williams.
And I'm Sean Kennedy, boyfriend of Sarah Williams.
Well, being a preacher's kid was pretty great, actually. The church was like a big family to me. I had a lot of parents.
Michael kind of opened the door back into a Christian church for me, and it really, it kind of changed my life in a lot of ways, and I'm glad to be a part of this church now.
Dad, growing up in the church has been a blessing for me, and it's really shaped who I am now. And you've taught me a lot about how to love other people through showing me so much love, but also loving others too. I really admire how you can say what you want to say in such a beautiful way that people can connect to it and feel it, not just know what you're saying, but feel what you're saying too. It takes a lot of courage to stand up in front of people and say what you know is right and speak from your heart and share your love with others.
It's been wonderful to have you as my pastor, and like I said, a great entry into the church, and I appreciate that a lot. But I look forward even more to getting to see the things that you will create outside of the ministry and all the writing and poetry and all that stuff that is inspiring to me and part of what I love about what you do. Can't wait to see what you can create.
And I'm very excited for you to do what you want to do now. Follow your passion, follow your heart, be creative, and we can spend some more time together and grow together in a new way.
Well, of course, in the Methodist tradition, we don't just share our talents and our skills, we also share our gifts. And Michael, we have a few gifts for you. And this first gift is going to be presented by Jennifer Rawlings. Jennifer is going to come up here. And I think, Michael, you might ought to come up here with her. And Margaret.
It's pretty cool up here. I'm Jennifer Rawlings. I'm Jennifer Rawlings. You've already seen the video. Obviously, you've seen the dress and the necklace, too. It just dawned on me that, once again, I have on this dress. So, anyway, so now you know who I am. Grew up in Columbia, Tennessee. Michael, my associate pastor. My mother and daddy, born and raised in Tennessee, born and raised in the Methodist Church, Columbia Methodist. Margaret, I remember the day she was born. Margaret's parents and my parents were best friends. Best friends. We lived close to each other. Margaret came along, and I thought she was mine. I was several years older, pushed her in a stroller, and she was the prettiest baby I've ever seen in my life. Here we are today. I kind of followed Margaret and Michael everywhere, except Hendersonville, and they know that. But followed them here. Dave and I, my husband Dave and I joined here, and it's been a wonderful experience. And your next experience is going to be better too. Now, there are just a few little things. This is just a gift from our congregation, and just a little token of our appreciation. And I've kept this a secret. This is Margaret and I have been together several times this week, and I just wanted to say something. So anyway, this is just something from all of us to you to put wherever you want to. And I'm going to preface this by saying Sydney and David McLean, who are sitting right down here from Columbia, Tennessee, dear friends of yours, both of yours. And Sydney did these for us. So you will know when you open them. So I shall put this down and we shall open.
You certainly can.
You thought you were going to get out of here without having to hear me, didn't you? I just need to say about Sydney McLean that while I was on staff at First Church Columbia, we built an addition, and in it was a rose window, which she did, a beautiful rose window, and in the leading around it, she placed who were the pastors there. She put who were the pastors, and though I had not yet quite finished, she put my name in as Dr. Michael Williams because she had faith in me. So thank you, Sydney.
I think all of us are aware and know very well that Michael's stories quite often involve his family, and we thought that that brought meaning enough to be presented here today several times. So we have two short video clips. The first one here is a short clip where, Michael, you describe a trait that you and your mother share. I think you'll claim that.
Now, when it comes to worry, I had the best teacher in the world, my mother. She called herself a worry wart. My mother worried about me every time I was out of her sight. When I was in college, I went to summer school, and in summer school you just went Monday through Thursday, so I'd come home Thursday night or Friday morning and go back Sunday. Every Sunday night my mother wept as I left. I'm not that bad. But I did learn to worry, okay? But you know what? I have never increased my lifespan by 1 minute for all that worrying. Have you? Now, I have suffered through a whole lot of things that actually never came to be because I worried. I made myself miserable over things that never happened because I worried. The phrase is attributed to Mark Twain. He may or may not have said it, but it's one of those quotes that if he didn't, he should have. And we probably, any of us could. He's quoted as saying, "I am an old man and I have seen many troubles, most of which never happened." Isn't it the truth?
You know, one thing, I see that there's some children here today. If you all would like, please feel free to come down here and sit on the floor with Michael if you'd like to, like you do in the children's moment. You can do that anytime you want to. Come on, yeah. We're family here. There we go. There would Michael feel at home. Our next video clip is also actually about your mother, Michael.
I didn't hear about liberals and conservatives growing up. My mother sliced up the world in different ways. For my mother, there were people who were broad-minded. That was her term for it. And broad-minded people were people who were interested in learning new things. And those people could be at anywhere along the spectrum, politically or socially or whatever, but they were interested in experiencing new things and learning new things and taking that insight into themselves and growing. Now, the opposite of that were folks who were narrow-minded, and you did not want to be that, in my mother's estimation, because a narrow-minded person had stopped learning. And for her, someone who had stopped learning might as well be dead.
Well, you've got a congregation full of lifelong learners, Michael. Our next song is also from a production that was done upstairs in the theater. This was from a production of the Cotton Patch Gospel. The song is "You Are Still My Boy." Harry Robinson will be back on the guitar, and Brittany Nelson will be singing.
So most of you don't know me. I met Michael while doing Cotton Patch Gospel, and I can safely say I'm a better person for it. I have 3 things against me right now. 1 is that I am a mother. 2 is that I'm a crier. And 3 is that this is a sad song. So say prayers for me. This is a song called "You Are Still My Boy" from the show Cotton Patch Gospel. This is Mary's song. You are still my boy, even though you're gone now. We have your memories lingering on. Boyish laughter rings out clear, and it seems you must be near. Footsteps sound, and I look around, and I look to see if you are here. You still claim a part of that hopeful place I call my heart. Hopeless is a word I never learned. Though my head knows what is true, that we've seen the very last of you, my heart won't listen. It just keeps missing that loving boy that it once knew. You will always be somewhere deep inside of me. I know it. Yes, I know it. I can feel it. I ain't no prophet claiming doom, no. Somehow I never learned the knack. You have a boy
are still my boy, even though you're gone now. I hear your laughter lingering on, and no matter what I do, no matter where I'm going to, I'll always have my memories. I'll always have my memories. I'll always have my memories of you. Of you.
Sorry, Matthew, I meant the other way. I meant bring them all up. The lights, that is. And because, there we go, thank you. Just for a moment, because, I just realized that you all can't see this, and our fourth camera is behind there, and it can't see this, but we got to have a picture of this right here. Michael, this is now version 2 of the tributes, our brave volunteers, if you will.
I'm Paul Stum, and it's my daunting responsibility to try to figure out some way to say something nice about Michael. And I've thought about that and thought, well, okay, I'm not even going to try. What I'm going to do, though, is to say something about his wife, Margaret. Michael had been here for, I think, 3 months before we ever saw Margaret. And we were talking about how wonderful her husband was, and Margaret interrupted me. She said, once you get to know me pretty well, you're going to like me better.
My name is Cheryl Parker. I have learned more from you about the Bible than I did in my many years of studying the Bible.
My name is Kirk McNeil. Michael, my word for you is generous. Generous. That's who you are.
Sue Stein. Well, Michael, I won't say goodbye. My father taught me as a child to never say goodbye. It's just too final. So instead, I will say, as he taught me, see you later. Or, as they say in Japan, mata aimasho.
Barbara Craig, I just want to tell you how much I've enjoyed you being my senior pastor, and how I've enjoyed your sermons, your stories, and I know you'll be telling them for a long, long time.
Jane Garrett Marshall. Michael, you have impacted the lives of so many. Here we have the kids at Venus Stewart Elementary and at Rutgers Stewart Middle School who are now storytellers because of your vision and your belief in the power of story.
I'm Bob Marshall, but you are very special. I just want to wish you every happiness and success in your future.
Angela Tips. Michael, I've known you over half my life now, and I can't thank you enough for the influence you've had on me professionally, and as my pastor, and as my friend. I know you'll always remember that call you got in September of 1995. We called you first because we knew you'd know what to do. You cried with us, and you came and got us through those next few days and weeks and months. And I can always remember, after I was being discharged from the hospital, the nurses that gathered around us and the beautiful prayer you prayed. Not many people got to hold my first daughter, but you did. And you and I will always be best friends forever because of that.
Kirby Davis. Michael, I remember the first time I met you, you had on wallabies, and I think one of them was untied, and I thought, wow, they've sent this really great, relaxed guide to us. I think that welcoming attitude you've brought to us has helped this church so much and attracted so many young people and newcomers to Nashville. I want to thank you for that, and also I want to thank you for taking us to the Holy Land. And one of my favorite memories of that was when they tried to recruit you into the rabbis there in the city of David, which you would have done great at.
Ann Davis. Michael, I want to thank you for two things. I am so grateful to you for being our teacher on that trip, our rabbi. Thank you. And secondly, for bringing Margaret to this congregation.
Nita Henderson, I want to thank you for all you've done for us. Your words cannot express how meaningful you've been to my life.
Bob Henderson. Michael, may you have as much joy as you had brought us. The peace of Christ be with you.
I'm Frank Clement. Michael, I feel like I've developed a wonderful and close relationship with you, not only when we bag potatoes in the parking lot, but as we have lunch at Amerigo's and share your favorite hot chicken with pasta. I also recall with great fondness that Lynn and I almost pushed you off of Mount Precipice in Nazareth, Israel, and you were so kind to pose with me for that photograph. Lynn and I will miss you and Margaret greatly.
I'm Becky Peeler. I'm the pastor of children and families at West End. Michael and Margaret, I wish you the very best in your retirement and your future plans. I am grateful for your support with children's ministry and all that you have done for them. I appreciate the time for children being implemented while you were at West End and your Bible storytelling during Vacation Bible School and all of the things that you have done for children.
Emma Ryan. Dear Michael, thank you for coming to West End when I was 10. The way you give your sermons and tell stories made me actually want to listen, and that is something that is really difficult to achieve with a 10-year-old. The fact that you're able to connect with people my age, younger kids, and adults all in the same sermon is just incredible. Thank you for bringing me closer to God and for showing me the many ways in which God works in everyone's lives.
I'm Byron Trauger. Thank you, Michael, for these wonderful years. We have loved your stories. I'm especially pleased that you're going to be joining the Martin Methodist College family.
Henry Hinton Howerton. Michael, I've enjoyed talking to you and seeing you around church. And don't eat all the crackers.
I'm Jessica Mitchell. Michael, you have known me for most of the major events of my life. And that started with Reese's proposal at Blakemore. And then you were there when we were married. And most recently, you were there when Reese was put in a coma. Doctors said, bring one person back there, and I could have brought my mom, and I could have brought a family member, but it was you. And I did that for a reason, because you're the kind of person that people want in the good times and in the bad times. My husband's alive. He made it, which is wild that he did. So you should know that. I'm like, I shouldn't leave you hanging. He's alive, and we have two wonderful, healthy, beautiful kids. So, Michael, thank you for being family to us.
It was quite an experience to be in the room with everybody as they delivered these, Michael. There's a lot on the cutting room floor, as you can imagine. But as she said when she ended, thank you for being family. You know, the importance of family to you, your own family, the stories that come from that, history that you have, and I think as a result, the family we feel here at our church, and I think our own deep regard for our own families, so we appreciate that. We indeed are the sheep of your flock, and we have another sheep who's going to come up here and say just a few words, who is part of our family, Nancy Hawthorne Parker.
When I meet someone new in Methodist circles,
they find out that I'm a pastor at West End United Methodist Church. And about 90% of the time, their face just lights up. And they say something like, "Your senior pastor is Michael Williams." And then they don't skip a beat. They tell some story of how they own a book that he wrote, and it enlightened Scripture in ways that they never knew was possible. Or maybe they tell me a story about their family that gets together with Michael's family at this specific time and season or whenever it is. Or maybe they tell me about a sermon that they heard and they can articulate the exact story or the exact anecdote that they learned from it years later. And I don't have to skip a beat from my nodding and bright eyes because I know that what they're saying is true, that Michael touches and transforms so many people's lives and has done the same thing for me. Working with Michael is like the biggest cheerleader matched with the deepest listener and a superhero with powers of poetry and story. A huge mentor and a cohort in crime. Michael has made our staff a community. We eat together for lunch, we laugh together, we cry together. Michael's door is always open. You can pop in, bounce off an idea, get advice on something you need help with. But his door is also open for him to come out and come to your office or go out into the community and work for justice and peace. I mentioned in a sermon a couple months ago about being the salt of the earth and the light of the world, and I used Michael as an example because he truly is himself in everything that he does. And that paves a way for me and you to be yourself around him, free from judgment, experiencing that love that is from Michael, but also deeply from God. Thank you for loving me and loving so many people. I love you.
Thank you, Nancy. Michael, there's no reason for you to sit down. No, because we've come to our part two of the gifts. And Mary Stum and Sally Norton are going to present our second round of gifts. They are the co-chairs of today's event, by the way. Thank them very much for that. I see that you have notes.
I'm going to do the boring part. Okay. We are here today on this special occasion to show our abundant love for Michael, for Margaret, for Sarah, and Lizzie. We have just loved every minute of having you here. This event would not have happened had it not been for an incredible group of people who came together with us. Mary and I've loved working with them. And I thought Michael's sermon this morning was so perfect, talking about how our gifts and talents all come together and that how we should all show abundant love. So look at this. We're doing such a good job. But I would like to just take 1 minute to thank the committee. Mac Perkle, you're just amazing. Thank you. He has worked all week on this, so we can't thank him enough. Kirk McNeil got so many people to come from out of town. Jennifer Rawlings, Laura and Rob Riley, Paul Stum, Becky Lane, Erwin Fisher, David Reichert, Davina Sprinkle. All of them have been so wonderful and worked so well with us, and we appreciate it. The staff, everyone from Stefan to Shelley Kohlmeyer to Nancy Parker and Melanie Paulson. We just cannot thank you enough. All right.
One thing I want to say about the first two gifts are, they are beautiful. But there are two of them because we hope one day Sarah will get one and Lizzie will get one. So, thank you. Margaret and Michael, there are lots of people here who love you, and we know you know that. And we have two other gifts to give you now. One is a check, and we hope that you will use at least some of this check to do something that you have dreamed of doing, and whatever that might be, we hope you will use it for that. The second is a book that people have written letters and remembrances, and Davina and Becky Lane and David has helped with this too, have compiled it into a beautiful book. I've actually had several other people hand me this morning some letters that I'm sure Davina will be able to work in there somehow. But anyhow, it's a book of remembrances, and we hope you'll have as many happy memories as all of us do. These gifts, all of them, are given with, I'm going to say she cried, with great love and admiration and gratitude and appreciation.
All right, let's see. Next, we have another video clip from one of Michael's sermons. It's another one that involves family stories, as so many of them do. And this one involves Michael, the woman Michael called Granny.
Several years ago, on All Saints' Day, I told a story about a surrogate grandmother of mine. Kizzy Butler was her name. We rented half of her house when I was 3 years old and lived there until I was almost 6. When I got into trouble on my side of the house and got a whipping, as hard as that is to imagine, all I had to do was make it across that linoleum-covered hallway that divided our part of the house from hers. If I could make it over there, I was in safe territory. I would run in there crying, saying, "Oh, Granny, wipe my tears, wipe my tears." She would stop what she was doing. She would sit down. She would put me up on her lap. She would take that ever-present apron that she wore, and she would wipe my tears. And she would say, "Now, what are they doing to my boy?" And I'd tell her, I didn't see any reason to protect my parents. I knew where real authority lay. It was with wiping tears. I think that the authority of Jesus is not something that was imposed by the culture, not something that depended on earned degrees or anything of that sort. Jesus' authority came from his being a conduit through which God's love shone completely. Someone who has been through the worst that life can throw at you and can witness to the fact that God brings new life even out of death, and who is there to wipe our tears. You see, Jesus spoke with authority, not as the scribes. And it seems to me that our role as Christians is to do the same, to be conduits of God's love, to help those who are at a different place on the journey in what we have experienced, and to wipe as many tears as we possibly can. Thanks be to God.
Just like your sermon today, Michael. And I think people here would agree you have preached love over and over and over again. And God bless you for that. Next is our third musical event. Okay, now, guess what, children? You're going to be kind of close to this. We're going to meet Colleen. Is going to come in here. This is a song that she and Michael, not a song, a musical moment that she and Michael have written together. She's going to explain it to you, called the Christos Cantos. Colleen Phelps. We're going to move this and get her in.
I'm gonna scoot some things too while we're all moving. A little more. Can we go a little more? It's just a really big instrument. The Christos Cantos, as listed in the program, is an evening-length piece that Pastor Michael and I are working on together, so I hope you're comfortable. Just kidding, we're only gonna do 3 minutes. I'm just gonna do a little taste of it. Are you okay right there? Okay. And that's the first thing I'll be playing. That's the one Michael knows about. This particular movement is called After Rain, and I think if we are feeling a little sad today and feel like it's raining, it's helpful to know what comes next. So that's what this is about. The first time Michael heard me play the marimba, as he is wont to do, I suppose, the next morning there was an email in my inbox with a poem called Marimba. And I like to think that art begets art, and I'm sure Michael does too. Therefore, the poem was turned into the next piece. And if you don't know, this instrument is the marimba. That's what I play. It's like a big xylophone, kids. So this next piece is going to include a reading of that poem. And I do need to go kind of side to side. Yeah, can you guys come have a seat? Can you go have a seat? Is that okay? Go have a seat. Thanks. All right. Yeah, that way I don't want to step on anybody, really, is what it is. So, This is a premiere, including the poem Marimba by Michael Williams.
Thank you.
Okay. We only have two more things. The first is just an overall thank you, Michael.
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 Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Dad.
Don't eat all the crackers.
And I think, as it should be, the preacher always gets the last word. So this next one is a clip from a sermon that Michael gave at the 140th anniversary of our church.
As some of you know, this is the 140th anniversary of this church as a station church. My hope is that on the 200th anniversary, that our daughters, Sarah and Elizabeth, can bring their grandchildren. They will bring them into this sanctuary, and they'll tell them about the windows. And they'll tell them about how their lives were touched being here. And they'll tell them about this cross that Chris Tibbett made. And they'll say, you know, your great-grandfather stood right up there to preach. Not where he was supposed to stand, but right there in the middle. And they'll go to the classroom and they'll say, this is where he taught Bible study. And they'll go out to the columbarium and they'll say, you know, that's where your great-grandfather and great-grandmother are, and those ashes are right there, and you can see their names right there. That's my hope. My hope is that somehow my gift to this church, in whatever form it takes, is a part of a legacy of all those who have gifted me, who have been here before, who have allowed me to serve in this incredibly beautiful sheepfold. To worship with this incredibly beautiful and profound music. To work with amazing colleagues and laity, that I can pass a little of that gift along. Let me just invite you to do the same. Thanks be to God.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Williams. Up to you. And in the Methodist tradition of itineration, we'll have a new pastor next week, so see you next Sunday. Thank you all very much for being here.